that shows how the mentorship works. See, God or Jesus Christ mentors Paul, and the Paul mentors Timothy, and Timothy mentors to other faithful men. So this is how it works. So in a church, let's think of a church setting. If you're a church and you're a leader, you're in position of Paul or Timothy, right? So you receive your mentoring from Jesus Christ by reading Bible, Old Testament and New Testament. You learn from God, and then you teach others. You have someone like a Timothy, and then Timothy should have someone like other faithful men. So that's how mentoring chain works. So you should create and construct this kind of mentoring chain in a church, and that church becomes a healthy church, a strong church. It becomes a learning church. It becomes a mentoring church. If church does not mentor, if a church does not disciple, then the church is becoming a dying church. If a church wants to be alive and strong and active, active church, it has to have this mentoring system, a very well set mentoring system, just like according to the Bible. So going back to the verse again, see at the end it says, many witnesses, entrust these to faithful men who will be qualified to teach others as well. So faithful men would teach others. So this is how it works. Okay, now introduction about mentoring. Definition of a mentor. Mentor can use as a noun, a name, and also can use as a verb, action. So it can be a name. Mentor is a person. Mentor, also the word can be used act of mentoring. So mentor can be used as both the noun and verb. For noun, definition is an experienced and trusted advisor. An experienced and trusted advisor. So mentor is basically an advisor. And then as a verb, it means to advise or train someone, especially a younger colleague. So younger, a less mature person. So mentor is doing the training and advising to a person who's less mature than he or she. So that means there's a certain qualification for a mentor. To be a mentor, you should be able to teach and advise, or train or advise, counsel others. And okay, the reason, rational for mentoring. Why should one mentor another person? Okay, number one, because it's what Jesus did. I mean, Jesus Christ, he is the good example, or the example of a mentor. So, we have to learn how Jesus Christ discipled his disciples, how he mentored, how he taught, how he trained his followers, disciples. Then we have a good training about being a mentor. So if you want to become a mentor, read Jesus. Read about Jesus Christ. Whether you're a Christian or not, if you're a Christian, you must learn who Jesus is, how he did. But even if you're not a Christian, still, if you want to be a good leader in your company or in your business or in your group, then you have to learn about Jesus Christ. Because he's probably the best, not probably, he is the best mentor the history ever seen. So it is quite mandatory to know how Jesus did his mentoring. And the second reason to mentor someone, because mentoring is a very interpersonal method, interpersonal way to train someone. There are many ways to teach and train the people. You come to school like this and sit in a classroom and listen to the lecture and read the books. These are a good way to learn and to be mentored. But the mentoring is a little different from just teaching or just learning. Mentoring is interpersonal. You kind of make a friend, not just a friend, but you're building a deep friendship. So mentoring involves your emotion, your private life. You have to share your private life, and thus the secrecy is very important. You have to keep the secret between mentor and mentoree. Whatever you share with your mentor or your mentoree, you are not going to share to others without having the permission. So mentoring is very intimate. So compared to other teaching methods, like a classroom teaching or any other formal teaching, mentoring is very personal. It involves your emotion, it involves your life, it involves your secret, and it involves telling and sharing your weakness. All these things make a mentoring unique to compare to other kind of learning or teaching environment. And so thus, mentoring, you mentor because it is very interpersonal way to learn and teach. Number 3, mentoring is a very intense way, very complex, compacted. So if you do mentoring, you can achieve hours worth of class lecturing within like a couple hours. See, so mentoring is a very intense method to learn and teach. Number 4, thus, because it's intense and it's interpersonal, it is intimate. Intimate means very close. So intimacy, if you understand intimacy, is something that's happening between husband and wife. Husband and wife relationship is very different than other kind of relationship. It must have that intimacy. So intimate, very close, stick together, and it involves all the dimensions. So that's intimacy. And mentoring is very intimate. Then safe and certain. By safe means if you mentor someone, there's a less chance to fail because you're looking at this person very closely. As a mentor, you have to keep watch on a person always, and then because you are watching that person, it is safe. Mentoring is like raising a little child, baby. And when you're raising a baby, you do not look the other way. You focus on that baby and try to make that environment safe, because safety is number 1 concern for a baby, right? So by mentoring, you keep that manage and keep that safe environment, and it is a very safe way to raise a person, to grow a person. And also it is a certain meaning, if you mentor, probably your success rate to make that person grow is probably 50%, somewhere around there. If you just do the classroom teaching or just do the preaching in a church, you come to church once a week and listen to the pastor preaching for like a 30 minutes, and if that's it, and you're not going to grow actually. It's less than 10%. But if you mentor someone in a church or in a business, in an organization, company, then success rate to make that person to grow and mature and help them to be better is more than 50%. So it is most certain. I mean, 50% is very high percentage rate to grow a person. I mean, if you have experience to help someone to grow and learn, yeah, 50% is very high. I mean, 1 out of 2, that's a good success rate. Then, mentoring, it presupposes a long-term involvement. Like a classroom teaching, I teach you guys like a 10 weeks and 20 hours class, and that's it. And I'm not committed any more than that. But mentoring, I have to be responsible even after the class, even after the lecture. And if you're a mentor-mentoree relationship, you keep contact, keep mentoring. Usually the mentoring is a lifetime thing. If you know like navigators, it's a campus group, and then it started like in 1950s in America. I believe his name is Dawson, and he started this group, Navigator. They are known to do a good mentoring, and their mentoring, once you are like a disciple maker and a disciple, that relationship goes through whole life. They're involved in like a marriage, and the babies grow, and it goes through a whole life. So that's kind of mentoring that we are talking about. So there are more reasons, but these are some of the important reasons why we should mentor rather than just teach. So discipleship, discipling, and mentoring is the same word in a biblical sense. Okay, then who can become a mentor? Not all the leaders are mentors. See? Mentors, all mentors are leaders. I mean, that's true. All mentors are leaders. But not all leaders are mentors. Some of the leaders are just a teacher. Some of the leaders are just coach. A mentor, to become a mentor, it requires special skills and special quality to be a mentor rather than a leader. So we want all the leaders and Christian leaders in the church to become mentors. Mentoring is intense. It takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of time. But we want all the Christian leaders to become mentors, especially a pastor. Pastor has to be a mentor. You cannot mentor every person in your church, but you have several persons that you are going to mentor if you're a pastor. So, who mentors? Number one, more mature ones. So if there are like a two-person, there's always someone who's mature than the other, and then that mature person can mentor the other less mature person. And more experienced one, he or she is going to be the mentor. If you have a more experience in say life skills, and if you're more experienced in raising a baby, I mean, if you have 2 children, and then you're more experienced than a mother who has just 1 children. So, and if your children is like 10 years old, and the other mother has 3 years old, and you certainly have more experience. So you can mentor that another mom to help her to raise her children better. So that's the kind of mentoring that we are talking about. So in that case, it's informal mentoring, but mentoring is informal. Mentoring is usually informal. Most mentoring is informal, except that those are happening in the church, designated mentor-mentor relationship. If that's not the case, most mentors are informal mentors. And the more talented ones, if you have more talent than others, then you can mentor a person who has less talent. So talent is another measurement, whether you can become a mentor or not. Then, one with expertise. Expertise, it means skills that you are very experienced skills. You know the best. You have all the know-how. The best know-how you have, then you're expert. And that is called expertise. If you are expert and you have certain expertise, then you can teach and you can mentor another person. So in like a sports, you're a sports person. Say you're a pitcher in a baseball, and you're expert pitcher like Clayton Kershaw in Dodgers, and he can mentor a younger pitcher to become him better because Kershaw is expert in pitching the baseball. So that's expertise, and one with the specialties. If you have a certain skills that most of person do not have, and then you can mentor another person. That's skill. Specialty can be cooking or something else that others you usually do not. You have certain talents that is only to you, and then you can mentor another person. So that's who mentors. Now, to understand the mentor or mentorship, then you have to understand these concepts and terms. So there are some core concepts and terms that you need to understand mentoring. Okay, first, mentoring or mentorship involves these two things. These are major things. Compared to other kind of learning, if you're mentoring someone, number one is empowerment. Empowerment means giving power to someone, or it's like starting a car. Okay? Every time you raise up in the morning and you're trying to come to class, you have to empower your car by turning the key. So by turning the key, you make that battery to turn your cell motor, and that cell motor turns your engine, and then the fuel comes into the engine and fires, and then motor starts, the engine starts. So that's kind of a thing that we are talking about. So you are trying to empower someone, because every person has a certain power, certain gift, certain ability, certain quality that can be contributed to help someone else. So mentoring always has to do with empowering someone to help others. See, it's not about helping someone to earn money. In a business, yes, you can mentor someone to make more money. But in biblical leadership, in a Christian setting, in a church, and the mentoring that we are talking about is maturing a person. It's not about the money. So you're helping someone to help others. That's a basic concept of mentoring. So to do so, you have to empower someone. Find that power that's hidden, that's not turned on yet, and then you're trying to turn that power on. But where does that power comes from? We believe, as a Christian, we believe it comes from God, the Lord. So you're just channeling, trying to channel that God's power to that person. You help to connect that. So that's kind of empowerment that we are talking about. So we know that the source of the power, where the source of power is, and then you deliver that power to that person. That's empowerment. It's like a connecting, switching on and turning the key to your car. And empowerment is the one main thing that you have to understand when you say mentoring. So you look at that person, and if you try to mentor that person, then you have to see what kind of power, the ability, the capacity, and the quality that person has, and try to turn that on. And let it flow, let it blossom, let it make a fruit. Then the second area, the task of mentoring is accountability. Accountability means being responsible for someone so that that person can be responsible. It's kind of difficult. I should have had some Chinese characters to help this concept. Accountability, it's like being responsible for a person. So as a parent, you are accountable for your children, and that children is also accountable to you. So it's a mutual responsibility. Responsible for one another. That's accountable. So having a mentor or becoming a mentor means that you are being accountable for that person. Because we use the word accountable for a person. You cannot use that for the thing. For the work or thing, you can use the word responsible. But accountable means I'm being responsible for a person, a being. So that's a special word. Accountable is being responsible for a person or people. So accountability is a very important factor in learning about this mentoring. So mentoring, you're doing two things basically. You're empowering that person and you're being accountable to one another. So it's a very responsible relationship. You cannot become a mentor just by saying, I'm your mentor. No, it doesn't work that way. You're committing yourself, your time, your energy, and your everything, your attention, your care to that person. It's just like raising a child, raising a baby, or it's like getting married. You're married to a person, another person. You are becoming accountable to one another, and you are empowering each other. So that's a marriage. So marriage and raising a children is a good analogy for mentoring. And indeed, in the Bible, Jesus talked about these parables, right? Many of the parables has to do with marriage and child. And Jesus talks about their relationship with him and us as being he being a husband and we being a bridegroom, right? Bride. So it's like that. So the marriage picture and the parent and the children picture is a good picture analogy for understanding mentoring. So those are two key tasks for a mentor. What are the functions of a mentor? A mentor does these things to his or her mentoring. So there's a person that you want to mentor, and you become, number one, a discipler. I think a discipler is the same word as a mentor. So I won't go further on this. Because Jesus called his followers his student disciples, right? So disciples are the one who are being mentored. It's the same word as mentor. Number two, teacher. So when you are a mentor, you are teaching. Basically, you're teaching another person. We'll go further into this. Then you're a counselor. And then you are a coach. And you are becoming a sponsor or supporter. So these are the functions of a mentor. We'll go further into each one. Okay, there are several different kind of mentors. I mean, this is how we kind of divide or classify a mentor. And there's a contemporary mentor and historical mentor. Okay, contemporary mentors are the ones who are living in your age, your time era. Historical ones are those great people. Say, you know Billy Graham, right? Billy Graham, he died just a few years ago. Now he becomes a historical figure. So if you are trying to learn lessons from Billy Graham, and then he's a historical mentor. Okay, say Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president of the United States. He is one of the historical mentors. You read his biography, and you learn lessons, and then he becomes your mentor. So these are the historical mentors. Contemporary, your teacher, your pastor, your mom and dad. These are like a contemporary mentors. So those mentors are alive, and he or she is there with you. So that's kind of mentor. Two different kind of mentor. Then immediate and distant mentor. Some of the immediate mentors are the mentors that you can see probably every day or every week. So your pastor, your boss sometimes, that can be your immediate mentor. Or if you have your children, and you are their immediate mentor. So immediate mentor means that person is close to you, right there. And you don't have to go see that person. He or she is always there together. So that's kind of immediate mentor. Distant mentor, you kind of have to travel or far away, even far away. That person is contemporary mentor, but if that person lives, say, in the East Coast in New York, and then he or she is a distant mentor. So you can have an immediate mentor and distant mentor. Distant, even that person is away from you, he or she can become a mentor to you, or you can become a mentor to someone who's living apart, like miles away. So that's also possible. You don't have to live together to be a mentor. So that's kind of concept that we are. Then temporary and lifetime. Usually mentor should be lifetime, but actually it doesn't happen that way because there are a lot of changes in your life, right? So even if your intention is to become a lifetime mentor to someone, it may not happen. So there is a short-term mentor and long-term mentor. And some of the long-term mentors go to lifetime. Some of the long-term mentors just go a few years. So it depends on which one's better. There's no better mentors. I mean, these are all the different kind of mentors. Then formal and informal. Okay, I gave an example. And a pastor to a disciple relationship, that's a formal. If you're in a church and you are meeting with your pastor for mentoring, that's a formal. Informal, it happens probably usually within the family or with your friends. So many friends that you have probably are your mentors. And you are becoming a mentor without knowing that you're mentoring actually that person. So there's a formal and informal mentor. So there are different kinds of mentors depending on which mode or which style you're taking. Okay, next. Mentoring direction. Okay, there is a vertical and lateral. I'll show you what it means. Okay, look at this diagram. So there's you, and you can mentor someone who's younger. So that's like a year down, and you have your mentor. So like Paul, I told you Paul, Timothy, and other faithful men. So it's like a vertical. So there's someone who mentors you, and you mentor someone. There's like a chain of mentorship. And peer means lateral. Someone pretty much more like you, but you also need a mentor of same class, same age, same maturity, and those are the peer mentors. So your friends usually are the mentor, your peer mentors. And your co-worker in your company, your workplace, that can be a peer mentor. So you have this skills, and that person has a different skills. You help one another, trying to become more better business person or skill worker or engineer or whatever. Then you're doing the peer mentoring. So try to find one of these each. I mean, that kind of builds a health mentoring system. So you should have someone who teaches you, and you should have someone you want to mentor, and then you have peer mentors too. So this is a good, healthy mentoring system. You can have friends to just have fun with. That's not mentoring. But if you're sharing your life and your concerns, your issues, your problems, and then you pray together, then you are becoming mentor to one another. So that's how it connects. So that's the mentoring matrix, and it's up and down and lateral. Now, mentoring essence and roles. There's few essence, the key elements in doing the mentoring. Number one. So mentoring as teaching. The definition of teaching is in italics, says show or explain to someone how to do something. Okay, that's basically teaching. Showing someone how to do something. That's teaching. And to teach, you have to inspire the person. It's like motivating, but inspire means you are committed. You help that person to commit by inspiring. Give the reason, give the purpose to a person. That's the inspiration. Many of young people today they don't have inspiration. They just live a day by day without having the purpose, without having the reason, having the goal. So they are not inspired. The mentor, when you're trying to do teaching, first thing is to inspire your student. You know, they just help them to find their own reason to learn about things, about people. So that's inspiration. And every Christian leader, a mentor, should inspire someone to a certain degree. Without inspiration from the Holy Spirit, and you are not really being a Christian. So inspiration, it doesn't come from you, or it doesn't come from that person. It always comes from up there above. But we can be a channel of inspiration. So that's what we are talking about. Teacher inspires. Then they information. There are a lot of stuff, knowledge, and you no longer need to, try to find the information. Information is there. You just Google, and then there are tons and tons of information. Only thing that you need to do is to make a discern about the information. Decide which information is true or false, which information is more important, which information is more recent. So these are the things that you need to do, and you teach your students, your followers, your mentoree to be able to utilize this information. So you kind of inform that person. And knowledge, you inform. You just basically what I do as a professor here in this classroom is to inform you, and you just take that information and work out those information. I cannot do that for yourself. So it is your job to take this information and kind of work it out and make your own and utilize it and use it for others. That's the teacher. And critique. Teacher need to critique. In Asian culture, critique is a very negative word to use. I mean, you're not supposed to critique others. But in Western culture, a healthy, good critique is always welcome. That's difference. And I believe it is good. Not everything Western is good. I don't believe that. But some of the Western stuff is good. And this, having a positive perception about a critique, I think that's a good thing. So critique is telling others what you're doing good and what you're doing bad or wrong, or so that's the kind of critique. And we are not. In Asian culture, you are taught not to say bad things about another person. Unless you have that authority, and only quite a few people have that authority in Asian culture. But in Western culture, you are free to make that critique because your intention is to help that person to become a better person. If that's your reason to do the critique, that's a healthy critique, positive critique. So a mentor, as a teacher, he or she need to do the critique. Then discipline is another word is to train. Just give hard stuff. Because of the nature of this classroom, I don't try to give you hard stuff or difficult stuff. But as a teacher, it is your job to give your students hard, difficult stuff and help them to do it, or even sometimes make them to do it. That's the word what the training. Think of the military training. That's what the training is. I mean, you make them suffer, make them to work, make them to sweat. That's what the discipline is. And the reason we are doing the discipline. Because by doing the difficult things, making them to do that, and then they grow that much. They may not be successful in all those difficult stuff, but they will be successful 10%, 20%, probably 30%, even 50% of these difficult things given. And then you're disciplining that person. So discipline is difficult, hard for that person, but you have to do it as a teacher. Then test. You don't know how your mentoree or your disciple is doing unless you test that person. So test is objective way to find out where that person is, whether he or she is growing or not. You only find out doing by test. The reason we are doing the little quiz, I'm testing you. So I have some idea about how you are doing, where you are, and what I need to teach more, or which level am I going to teach. Should I make it easier? Should I make it more difficult? But I found out there are many different people in this small class. So it is difficult to just make an average teaching level. So I go sometimes easy, sometimes I do the difficult stuff. But you have to get it. The things that you may understand, that's your job. But testing is the way to know where your students are. And teach means the setting goals and parameters. That's the teacher. So teacher has to have that idea about where this person should go. Then set the goals about the people. Mentor, especially because it's about a person, you have to have certain goals, parameters, or the standards, your checklist for that person. And without those goals, you don't know. You're not going to know whether you taught that person or not. And to properly teach a person, you have to have certain goals and parameters. Okay, why don't we stop here for now, and let's take a 10-minute break and come back at 11. Thank you.
最高是我们是2时间，所以他跟王，然后可能提前10分钟就要走。因为如果让老师先让这5分钟，那也能达到我们所说的那个目的。你看怎么样啊？行了，那就周5下午哈，因为那个周52点钟呢，我1点钟接舅舅嘛，你是1点钟接飞嘛，然后我2点钟我把那个 Danny 送到那边去写作，然后我就可以把舅舅带过来，然后咱们中午吃那个日本的那个什么，但是可能时间来不及，我们就约在你家见。
You may answer question 8, 9, and 10 after the class. We haven't covered 8, 9, and 10 yet. Now I'll do the number 8 and 9 and 10 now. So you can write down your answers as we go on. Okay, let's continue with mentoring. So we covered mentoring as teaching. Now, number 2, mentoring, it is about caring. So mentoring as caring. And the caring, by dictionary definition, says the provision of what is necessary for the health or welfare or maintenance and protection of someone. So it has to do with health, maintain, protect, and provide health and welfare. So that's the definition of caring according to the English dictionary. And caring is very personal thing. If you read the definition, it is very personal thing. And it involves the following things. There's more than these, but let's look at first one. It provides attention. The first thing about caring is giving and providing attention. Without this attention, you cannot say, I cared for that person. So having that attention is the key or the first initial thing for caring. Think of someone you care. Am I giving my attention, whole, undivided attention to that person? And you're caring. So loving, if you love someone, caring is a very important component of loving that person. Same with the mentoring. If you're a mentor, and you should care for that person. But to care for that person, you have to give undivided attention. So providing and giving attention, focus, your interest, your core interest. That's giving attention. Number 2, provide security. You're caring for that person, then you provide security. You care for that person's security. You want to secure. You want that person to be safe. So providing safe environment, safety conditions, safety measures, those are very important and caring. So you don't want that person to be in danger. You don't want that person to risk unnecessary risk. There's some risk that is needed and to become a mature person, but there are some risks that you must avoid, and you help that. So safety and security of a person, providing that is a part of caring. Because raising a baby, you want that baby to be safe and secure. Number 3, meet the needs. There's spiritual, psychological, and physical needs. These are the general basic needs, and you kind of try to. Sometimes you cannot provide actually because you don't have that resource, but you have to help that person to meet their need or his or her need, and that's the caring. So if your baby is hungry, you give milk to the baby. So that's kind of caring. If you see that person is cold, you provide warmth. So those are the caring that provide need. Every human has those needs, and sometimes that person cannot acquire the needs there are many who go hungry at night, and then you are a caring person. You have to provide food to that person. That's the basic of the caring. So when you care for a person, you provide the needs. Then coaching. Coaching is a very critical role of a mentor. And coaching by definition says to instruct, direct, or prompt as a coach. So you know what the coach is. Coach is someone who instructs and directs and a prompt. And coaching is a very important part. Coaching is basically, it's not doing something for someone. That's not called coaching. These days, many young parents, they do not know how to be a parent. So they try to do everything for their children, their baby. When he is or she is a baby, 2 years old or younger, and then they cannot do anything by themselves. In those cases, you do things for them. But when they grow and get older, you don't do the things that they can do. I mean, that's bad parenting. Same thing with the mentoring. You know, if that person is able to do or should do certain things, you're not doing anything for that person. And that's kind of coaching. But help that person do the things they should do. That's coaching. So coaching basically is not doing something for someone, but just helping that person to do the things that he or should do as a person and as a player. So that's the main concept of coaching. Coaching is being there and just instructing and helping and telling what to do and how to do. That's coaching. So coach monitors. He or she carefully look at what your mentoree is doing, what your disciple is doing. You have to observe, see, and look at what he or she is doing in detail. So that's monitoring. Monitoring is a very important part of coaching. Once you monitor, you also encourage by giving praises, by saying you're doing good, you're great, you're okay. Those kind of encouragement is very important as a coach. So encouragement is a critical part of coaching. Number 3, position and placement in position. So give a role or position and a responsibility or task. So by just giving and giving certain responsibility and the task and positioning that person to a certain rank, then you are doing a coaching. So placement, sometimes you promote the person to the next degree, next position, next level. That's the kind of thing that a coach does. And trial and error. Do not be afraid of making errors yourself, but also as a coach, do not be afraid of some of your mentoree, your disciples making mistakes and errors. I mean, it should happen, and no one's perfect. And then especially when that person is younger and less experienced, and they are going to make errors and mistakes. And by doing it over and over again, multiple times, time after time, they will gain the experience. By gaining experience, they learn how to not to make a mistake, how to not to make errors. That's growing. that's maturing. So that this is a part of the process, making errors, mistakes, and then learn from it and do it over again. Next time he or she may make the same mistakes again. That's fine, because every person has a different ability, different capacity, and many of us who has grown in Asian culture very competitive, and you compete and then you lose and that's it, and then that's kind of culture that we know of, and it's not good as a mentoring environment. You should allow them to make mistakes and do not be too much critical about making mistakes. So trial and errors, that's very natural, normal part of coaching. So as a coach, just look at them, monitor them, and to help them to make less errors and less mistakes. That's who you are there for. Okay, evaluate. Evaluate, always test and evaluate. So know where this person is, know where your mentorees are, and just you have to be very objective about evaluating and reviewing and testing. So you have a data on that person where he or she is. So that's part of coaching. Then document. You have to document these things: trial, error, evaluations, and their placement and performance. As a coach, you have to document, make a record, write them down. Without document, you forget. I mean, you're not perfect. You don't have that good memory. We do not have that much good memory. And as you get older, it's easy for you to forget. So always try to make document. I mean, but this document has to be in secret. I mean, you keep it to yourself, and do not publicize or make it known to others, because these documents are very private. But it is important to make the recording of the progress, the mistakes, and the weaknesses, and your critique, your task. All this information has to be there when you need it. So as a coach, you always make that note and document of the person that you're discipling. Okay? So coaching is a key function in a mentoring. Next, partnering. Mentoring as partnering. So usually when you mentor, you always think of a picture as you up there and then your mentoree down there. But partnering is a picture. I mean, you are going one-on-one together, walk together. So that's a picture of partnering. Sometimes it is difficult for those in this kind of culture to imagine or practice this. But you have to learn to do this as a good mentor. Because even Jesus Christ, he did this. Okay? So let's think of partnering. It's trust and entrust. Trust means you are trusting your mentoree, your disciple, as a mentor. You trust the person who are younger, who are less mature. You have to give the trust. Without that trust, the mentoring relationship does not work. It doesn't happen. So you have to trust that person. And also, because you trust that person, you entrust. You give the responsibility, you give the opportunity, you give the task, and then let that person do it. That's a part of coaching and the partnering. Partnering, you begin to receive your mentoree, your disciple, your student as a partner. That's a very critical turning point in your mentoring relationship. Without accepting that your mentoree as a partner, there is not going to be real growth. Sometimes your mentoree even grow over you. That happens. They become better than you. They become more known than you. That happens. And that's the joy of mentoring. And I don't know whether it's a Western or Asian culture. It is difficult to accept someone who was younger than you, less than you, to grow over you, more bigger than you, become bigger than you. But the whole thing of a mentoring is let that person grow and become better than you. See? So you have to begin to trust and untrust and accept that person as a partner. If that happens, and then grow out. If that person grow out and grow over you, and that's the whole purpose of doing the mentoring. Give and share. Give and share. Whether it's your time, your talents, and sometimes if it's your money, you have to give and share as a mentor. So if you have those resources, if you begin to mentor, and partnering means you're accepting that person as your partner, then you have to give and you have to share. And giving and sharing is a very difficult thing to do, actually. But it is necessary and mandatory to give and share and accept that person as a partner. Then endorse and recommend. Because you trust and because you know this person is capable, once you accept that person as a partner, just as good as you are, then there's a chance to endorse this person to someone or recommend this person to a certain position, which means promotion. So if you want to promote that person that you're mentoring, your mentoree, and you have to be willing to endorse and willing to recommend and willing to introduce that person to another person or another opportunity beyond your area or beyond your field, beyond your responsibility. So recommending and giving introduction or endorsement, that's the key to partnering. Then network. You may have you may have your network of people. Network meaning the people. So you know this person, and that person knows another person, and there's a certain network in your field. If it's a church, that not only you know the church in your, people in your own church, you may know some other people in other churches, and that's a kind of network. If it's a business, you have a network of vendors and the sellers and then the providers. All these people are related. So that's a kind of network. By partnering, we mean you are introducing your mentoree into bringing that person into your network and to help to become a part of network. So if you know like a 10 person as your network, by bringing your mentoree, your disciple into your network, that person automatically knows 10 people because of you. So that's a kind of network. And by networking, you're partnering with that mentoree. And if you have a larger network, it's better for that person that you are mentoring. Okay? And transfer. Transfer is giving the things that you keep to yourself. This is the last thing that I'm going to share. I'm going to give. So that's something that you are going to transfer because it's valuable. You're not giving that at the beginning because if you give something valuable at the beginning, that person, your mentoree may not handle that because it's too heavy or it's too difficult. So transferring is something that you give away at the last stage because it's important and it takes a more maturity. So partnering at the end, you're giving those secret recite. You're giving out that secret know-how. So those things are transferring. So you transfer those things, most valuable things, to your mentoree and recognize, acknowledge him or she as your partner. So you become at the same level, right? So that person was younger and less mature than you. Now he or she is at the same level. That's what we are projecting to. So that's partnering. So mentoring eventually should end up as partnering. To partner it needs to be delegated. It's pretty similar concept, but a little different. Delegating is giving responsibility to that person, basically. Delegating. This was my work, my area, my domain, my thing, and then you give to that person. That's part of partnering, but now you give it and it becomes his or hers. So that's delegation. And the spirit and motive. You delegate your spirit and your motive to your mentoree. Also, you give leadership and authority. It's easy for you to keep a certain person as your follower or even as your partner. But to share the leadership and authority, not only even share, but to give, delegate that leadership and authority means now it's yours. I'm not going to be involved in that authority or that leadership. And you just come out of it and let that person take 100%. That's not easy to do. That's not easy to do. So delegating is beyond partnering in that sense. Partnering, you are doing it together. You still share that leadership. You still share that authority. But once you delegate, you give that to that person, and that's it. You're not going to be involved any further. So that's a concept of delegating. So you delegate tasks and responsibility, even people. You delegate the people. So that's a part of delegation and transfer. You say, this is my people. Now, when you delegate, you have to give up about that people. They are no longer your people. You're giving it to that person. So then that's delegation. So time and history, even time and history, you have to delegate. Okay, now you can finish your quiz. I'll give you this 1 minute. Answer all 10 questions because we covered question number 8 and 9 and 10 just now. And attendance. Let's go over the quiz together. Okay, quiz number 5. So today's quiz. Make sure that you have your name on there. Number 1, Maslow. He's a psychologist, and he has 5 needs that made as a diagram, and you remember that pyramid. Okay, those needs does not 5 needs does not include the following. Number A, safety. B, belonging. C, spiritual. D, self-esteem. E, physiological need, hunger and the sleep and those things. And then self-actualization. Out of those 6, number C is not part of Maslow's need. Question number 2, interpersonal relationship mode does not include A, dependency, B, interdependency, and C, independency, and D, intra-support. The answer is D. Okay, number 3, the definition: control or influence a person or situation cleverly, unfairly, or unscrupulously is A, assistance, B, manipulation, C, motivation, D, mentoring. The right answer is B, manipulation. So this is the definition of manipulation. Question number 4. Which is not a reason for a leader manipulating followers? Okay, trying to find which is not a reason for a leader manipulating. A says to help, B, to have control, C, because of selfishness, D, for the reason of effectiveness, and the answer would be A. You're not manipulating to help someone. It doesn't help anyone when you manipulate. Number 5, a definition again. Advise or train someone, especially a younger colleague, means A, manipulation, no. B, education, no. C, mentoring, yes. And D, punishment is not an answer. So C, mentoring is the right answer for number 5. 6, which of the following is not a function of a mentor? A mentor. Mentor does A, coach, B, teacher, C, commander, D, counselor. The answer is C. Mentor does not give command. Should not. Sometimes yes, but no. Commander is not a good picture of a mentor. Number 7, definition: show or explain to someone how to do something is called A, care, B, teach, C, investigate, D, test. The answer is B, teaching or teach. Okay, question number 8. Coaching would not involve. Okay, A, giving up, B, monitoring, C, encouragement, the evaluation. Yeah, we just did this on the class, and the answer is A. Coach does not teach to give up. Giving up is the last thing a coach should teach his or her mentee. Number 9, partnership does not involve A, mutual trust, B, endorsement, C, sharing, and D, division. Answer is D, division. You don't try to divide by partnering. Number 10, leader would delegate, delegate A, spirit, delegate the task B, C, responsibilities, D, authorities, E, all of the above. The answer is E, all of the above. So try just have a correct answers and just hand me your please, and I'll keep it for the record. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's continue. We are running low behind, but it's okay. File. We'll continue with the lesson 6. Now, leader motivates and leader mentors. Now, leader communicates. So good communication and the communication skills is a must for a leader. So if you want to be a good leader, you should learn how to communicate. I mean, the communication alone is a big plus. But I'll just try to help you to have this basic concept about good communication. Whether you like it or not, you are communicating always. And there are some good communicators and there are some bad communicators. I mean, saying a lot does not mean that he or she is a good communicator. You need to say the things that you need to say and the right things to say and with the right intention. That's a good communication. So we'll try to learn about the communication because leader has to communicate. From the Bible, some wisdom about communication. Words of mouth. Psalm 19:14 says, "May these words of my mouth, and this meditation of my heart be pleasing in your sight, Lord, my rock and my redeemer." So this is probably David or somebody, Solomon, writing this, and it's in the form of prayer. So prayer, if you're a Christian, prayer is a communication. It's talking to God and listening to God. So prayer is a two-way communication. Now, prayer is the best means to practice a good communication. Now look at this. I mean, he defines, whoever wrote this song defines the communication. It's word of mouth. And then there's the meditation of your heart. So communication not only speaks out as a word, but it is there in your heart. So whatever is in your heart, if you are revealing through your mouth, and then there is a problem. Sometimes you are trying to hide and say the things that not really in your heart. Then it becomes a lie. So that's a bad communication. But you don't always have to say what's inside you. You can hide some of it. But do not try to say that the things that are not in your heart. So that becomes a bad communication. And God does not like that. Especially when you are talking to God, He knows your heart. Because He knows your heart. If you say something that is not in your heart, He can just say that is not right. So communication is there's a heart and that you're putting into the word. Then wise counsel. See, it says Proverbs 25:11. Timely service is timely advice. Advice is lovely like a golden apples in a silver basket. The golden apples, good ripened apples. You really taste good apples in the basket. So the good advice, and timely advice is like that. See, the communication basically is giving advice to others. So a leader, when you communicate, the whole purpose of your communication as a leader is to help others, just like a golden apple in a basket. So then, remember this picture. Whatever you're saying, as a preacher, leader, you may preach, or in a small group, you're doing Bible study and you're saying things, but all the things that you're saying has to have this intention. This is the whole, the motive, the reason for you're communicating as a leader, So wise counsel is a key to a good communication. Now, core concepts and elements. So communication involves many different concepts. Communication is a very complex process. It's very complex process. It's more complex than what you think or what you know. So we need to understand the communication and try to understand communication. You have to know these complex elements that are involved in communication. Okay, basic communication model. See, whenever you learn about communication these days in a classroom like this, you're going to hear these. There's a source and there's a receptor at the end. So there's a source and there's going to be a receptor. And in between, there's a medium, message, and messenger. Medium is a media. Media is multiple, plural of medium. So I'm not sure if these Chinese are correct ones, but this is as far as I can get. So look at this picture. Communication model. There's a source. That's where it begins. According to the Bible, the verse that Psalm that we just read, is your heart, the meditation of your heart. That's where the source is, and it comes out through your mouth. Words becomes medium, and then you are going to be messenger in this case. And then there's a receptor who listens, hearer or listener. Listener is a receptor. So there's one end. And then it goes another way back. So the arrow goes this way and that way, right? So thus communication is mutual, it happens. Now, you need to understand. So this is basically three elements: source, receptor, and in the middle. So medium, messenger, and the message kind of goes together. So sometimes you become your messenger, your medium, and you have a message. You are message sometimes. So that's the basic model. So three things: source, receptor, and in between. Okay? So just remember that. And once you remember that, you probably understand 50% of communication. So that just remember this picture, and you already know 50% of communication. So to have good communication, you better remember this. Okay? Basic communication model. There's a form and meaning. So the meditation of the heart, that's the meaning. And the word of mouth is a form. And the letters, like this, whether it's Chinese or English, Roman, those are the forms. Okay? It's visible, it's touchable, it's tangible. So then those are forms. Meanings, it's not visible, it's hidden. Without forms, you are not able to express the meaning. So you have to have letters or sounds, whatever. There are forms. When you go to worship, worship is your heart. I'm giving you a heart. But to do the worship, there's a praise, singing, that's a form. And then preaching, that's a form. And then there's praying together, that's a form. So all these rituals. And then there's communion, sharing of bread, and then sharing of the wine. These are all forms, as symbols. But those symbols have meanings behind it. So to understand communication, you have to understand the form and meaning. These are two different things, but they go together. Without form, but the form has to reflect the meaning. If the form does not represent the true meaning of it, then form is wrong. So the communication, the reason I'm telling you this is basically when we are like making conversation, having a dialogue, for example, there's a meaning inside you. That's a meaning. But when you say it with the words, whether it's Japanese, Korean, Chinese language, you say it, then as a form. So the question is, does your form, does your language, or your words, does it reflect what's in your heart? 100%. Sometimes yes, many times no. So it is important to be able to say what's in your heart, meaning. So try to carry true meaning. I'm married for 30 years now, and between husband and wife, every day you communicate, whether it's verbal or gesture or just your facial expression, you communicate. And probably many cases, what you want to mean is not expressed exactly in your form. So what you're saying is not actually what you mean. So then those cases, communication does not work. So as a leader, between husband and wife, that's a leadership situation. As your parents, mom and dad, your children, and there's a communication, and usually communication is not good. So as a leader in a church, same thing happens, especially in Asian culture. You know, I know a little bit, pretty much of my culture. I know some of Japanese culture and some Chinese culture, but there's a common thing in our culture, whether it's Japan, Korea, China, we do not say the things. I mean, we taught not to say things in your heart, because it is wrong. It is not right to do it. Many things, I mean, we are taught that. So we Asians are not really good communicators in that sense. So we need to relearn about communication. That's us. I'm not saying that Western communication is perfect. I mean, but the thing is, Western communication, whether it's America and Europe, their communication is based on biblical teaching, because they have been Christian culture for many, many years. And it is there, even though culture has changed a lot in America and Europe, still the art of communication is very biblical. It's based on biblical teaching. So we are trying to learn the communication in biblical way. So that's a hard. I mean, communication is probably for Asians as most difficult thing to do when you are trying to be a leader. Okay. So that's the message. It has a form and meaning. Okay, that's what I have explained. Now, other elements, text and context. Context influence text, and text also sometimes influence context. See, this is what it is. Context is your surroundings, your culture, and the people, and your history. These things influence your communication. So text is, many times is written letters. Text is a word of your mouth, your sound, your language. And then there's context. There's a people, there's a culture. These culture and people influence what you are trying to say. See? So, I mean, we speak different language. I speak Korean and Japanese, right? And Chinese. See, if we try to communicate and you say something in Japanese, probably I may understand arigatou gozaimasu. That's probably about it. And 안녕하세요, you may understand that, but that's about it. Huh? So we are limited in that sense. So that's the context. We are in this kind of context. It's very global, multicultural. So what we may say is limited. That's why I'm doing this lecture in English, because probably that's the most common language here, and you try to understand. Even with the limitation, it's better than me saying all in Korean. And if I teach you in Korean, probably you will not be sitting here, right? So the context influences the communication. So you need to understand what context you are in to have a very good and effective communication. Again, other elements. There are noise and distortion. And there is a perception and interpretation. So you hear the words, you see the things, you read the gesture and the expression, facial expression. But still, what you hear, what you see is not what the other may meant. Because there are some noises and distortions. You have your own experience, your own perception to misunderstand what that person is saying. Your situation makes you misunderstand the other person. So those are like a noise. See, have you tried to communicate in say, in a railway station or bus station, or in a marketplace? It is difficult to communicate because there's so much noise. See, those are the noise. In real life, there's noise. There are many elements that kind of changes the message, distort the message, make you misunderstand the message. Those are the noise. And people usually are not aware of this noise because it's not visible or it's not audible, just like a marketplace. Marketplace, you know, it's noisy, but in real life, you're trying to communicate. Even in silent room, it's between you and your wife or your husband, and try to communicate. And there are many noise that you are not aware of. So good leader should be able to identify the noise that may influence your communication. So that's our art of communication. We try to find what the noises are, what the distortion is. And then perception and interpretation. See, you may not know this, but you are interpreting always. Someone tells you a story, or someone tries to say something to you, and you are already interpreting. You're not hearing just 100% what he or she is saying, but you have your own interpretation. So whether you like it or not, when there is communication, conversation, you keep interpreting and translating, because that's how communication works. And because you have certain perception, you have certain experience, you have certain definition of the words, and your definition of word may not be the same as the definition of word who is saying that word. So this interpretation keeps going on always. And if you misinterpret, and then you misunderstand. So as a leader, you're trying to eliminate those noises, and you're trying to help them to make a right interpretation of your message. So that is not an easy job. Whatever you say, they are already interpreting. And whatever you try, with all your careful, best intention, there are noises. So try to identify the noise and how they know how they are interpreting you. So, okay, we'll stop here today and we'll continue in the next class. Your assignment is, as always, just go over the lesson 6 and lesson 7, because next week is supposed to be lesson 7. So go over your workbook and just come with the basic idea of what we are going to talk about. And if there's the English word that you do not know or understand, just look up the dictionary and get the idea of what the definition is. Okay, thank you and have a nice day.